Today I'm celebrating Mahatma Ghandi. I don't know if it's advisable really to describe him as Mahatma, because I've seen Indian people who have felt that he is not a Mahatma, which I believe means father or figurative leader of the country, but yet still have some respect for him. And I don't know enough about the history of India to know whether his role was a net positive or negative in the development of that country. He played a key role in helping the Raj, let's say the British establishment, the British aristocracy, to realise that it was time for them to go. Although I've also heard it argued that their departure was already inevitable, that the ability to control India was already becoming apparent to them, that was going to be impossible. Perhaps they'd already netted the resources that they were looking for, and it was just time to be on their way anyway. Who's to know? And whether or not Gandhi's legacy has really benefited India or not, I'm not in a position to be able to really argue one way or the other. And I'm sure this is a debate that would probably divide a lot of Indian people. What I can do, though, is honour the man for many of the things that he did in his own life in the course of a lifetime. Not everybody knows that in his earlier days, Gandhi worked in South Africa, supporting white communities and rich white people with court cases that were obviously embedded into that system of apartheid. And so it's very questionable what his mindset was like as a young man to participate in such things. I mean, maybe he was just a young lawyer who was looking for work and took what he could find. And yet it's really clear that at some point in his life he had a radical awakening and wanted to distance himself from what he had been involved in. And perhaps it was a compensation to want to then take up the cause as he did in India. But one thing's for sure is he's someone who went through a radical transformation. And I think that's worthy of celebrating, because, wouldn't we all hope that, for instance, a violent alcoholic wakes up one day and says, my God, what am I doing, and manages to choose a different path, or anybody who's got some kind of very negative aspect of their personality to be able to go, I don't wish to be that person anymore. He chose to practice meditation and fasting, and this enabled him, I believe, to really transition to being a very different kind of person. It really connected him to the values that he held in high esteem, and he really embodied those beliefs. His advocation for non-violence and the choice to protest in the face of violent reprisals, but to retain one's dignity by not lowering oneself to violent reprisals, was, I believe, a very, very admirable quality that he has left as an example to all of us. So whether or not one chooses one political side or another, whether or not one is better educated in the history of India and the role that he played, I've seen some people say that he was a very dubious character even in later life, and that there may have been sexual goings on that were dubious in nature, and whether or not his marriage was what we thought it might have been, and but aside from all of those things, I find it difficult to question whether or not this person, it certainly seems to me that if you are willing to borderline starve yourself to make a point, that's something that is difficult to not go, and have some respect for. So today I want to honour the life and the impact of Mahatma Gandhi. Whether or not I should refer to him as Mahatma, I don't know. But certainly to this man who inspired so many people into the path of non-violence, and gave us the opportunity to see what happens when people refuse to fight, and the ugliness of violence when it chooses to inflict itself upon people that have stated clearly that they will not respond in kind. So, a thought today in the celebrations of Mahatma Gandhi.